All right, Shalom. All right, Shalom. All right, yeah. So we'll go ahead and get into this call online. Yahweh, Basho, Yahweh, all right, continue with the live tonight's live lesson. As you see, it's gonna be continuing the non-elect traits, and this one we're gonna be going into not willing to communicate, not being willing to communicate. All right. But before we do, double honors to the hopefully like elder apostles, the hopefully like elder apostles at the Great Millstone Church, Shalom, to all the elder bishops as well, when the Lord has set up right now, and to the rest of the believers in on His faith as well. You know, the brothers under the correct doctrine doing what they need to do across the four corners of the globe, nonetheless and regardless, according to the scriptures to the best of their ability and to the rest of the believers in on His faith. So yeah, uh, tonight's non-elect trait is going to be dealing with not willing to communicate, because you see a lot of stuff that's happening right now in the spirit. Those that's really tuned in with what is going on in Israel, and obviously with yourself first and foremost. And a lot of that stems from individuals not being willing to communicate. And that's a lot of your downfalls, our own downfalls, and ultimately that's what got a lot of issues going on right now uh, amongst those that listen to groups, those even in the groups amongst each other, you know, and even amongst us, you know, it's just Akim that just labor together, all right, and pretty much fellow Hebrew Israelites and on the faithful Yahweh Shemel Shah. But that all the issues will come when one is not willing to communicate, and that brings destruction. That brings um, misunderstandings. That brings contentions, arguments, strivings. You know what I'm saying? That brings, man. That does a lot, man. That keep people willing from being able to get over obstacles and to certain places, you know, because the Lord, He said we could just get there real quick. I kick it off with this. Brothers can hold um, 1 Timothy 6 and 18, and also 1 Peter 3 and 15. All right, and I'm gonna kick it off with this. This is Matthew 17 and 20. It says, and Yahushua, I'm gonna actually start at 19. It says, then came the disciples to Yahushua apart and said, why could not we cast him out? And Yahushua said unto them, because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. But first, in order to do something, to get barriers out of your way, get over things, get over humps, hurdles, and whatnot, you gotta be willing, which the Lord said will be able to be done in that instance right there, by just saying to the mountain, you know, which will pretty much represent, you know, I'm just using that to represent what I'm the point I just said, what I just said. So in order to get that mountain out your way, you know, and get to what's past or beyond the mountain, you got to be willing to say to it first, you know, remove. You got to be willing to communicate, because that's what it come down to. He said, "You shall say unto this mountain, remove, you know, hence." All right, you got to be willing. You got to be willing to go there, you know, and pretty much. that's what that situation that the disciples was in with that demon was likened unto. It was like a mountain was in the way to where they couldn't perform the casting out. You know, it was something in the way. So you got to really be able to. That pretty much goes into as far as what Yahushua said as a resolution. You got to that which will go into. You got to be willing to get in there. You got to be willing to communicate. He said you're gonna be you got to be willing to go there, man. All right, and into the depths of things, like, but but that's good. That can take you into other things, but that's fairly that. All right. So unless one wasn't, if say somebody had that situation, a lot of your situations is likened unto that mountain in your way. Esau, because that symbolizes Esau. You know, so pretty much in order to get Esau out of your way, you gotta hence being a mountain. The Lord told us what we gotta prophesy against Mount Seir. All right, so it all comes down to just being willing to, but that once again comes down to saying to the mountain. Then it can happen, but you gotta what first be willing to communicate. And he's telling this message to those that's of the elect. All right, and the elect gonna do these things. All right. They got to be willing to communicate. Oh, and they wouldn't even got the answer if they didn't come and ask Yahushua. They had to be willing to communicate. They couldn't stay proud and failed and know they got the answer or know to whom they can go to get the answer. You know what I'm saying? They was willing to communicate to where that wasn't an issue for them, and they got the answer, man. All right. And those men, those disciples were actually deemed the elect. Because Yahushua said, and what's that? The 19th chapter of we can prove that too real quick. And then we go ahead and get the other ones. That brother's got some. Let me grab that too real quick. Generation. Yep, Matthew 19 and 28. And Yahushua said, I'm going to start at 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, right? And that's the meaning of disciples. All right. If we can actually get that word disciple in that last one I just read, which was Matthew 17 and 19. Make sure that's right.
Yeah, Con, I got it.
3101, Mathetes.
You got it.
Yeah, under the outline of biblical usage, it says a learner, a pupil.
Yep. So those are, and then when you jump down to the Thayer's Greek lexicon, what you get?
One who follows one's teaching.
See? So when you go back so disciple ultimately means obviously a learner, a disciple, a pupil, hence a follower. These disciples were the learners, and pupils, aka the followers of Yahushua. So when we go back to Matthew 19 and 28, and it says 27, it says, this is headed the disciples' reward. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So he told them they was the elect. Those disciples were the elect. All right. So the disciples, they were followers of Yahweh Shah that were willing to communicate. They had that trait about them, and they had that talk to them. All right, so let's go ahead and bring out the Moizerka. So that's how we know this is an elect trait. You know, being willing to communicate, but being not willing to communicate is a non-elect trait. You know, so we got to put on there for as the elect, which would be the disciples. All right. They said, why couldn't we cast them out? You got it, bro.
Yeah, Khan. It's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6 and verse 18. That they do good, that they be rich in works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate.
See, you gotta be willing to communicate. All right. You read that one more time.
Yeah, Khan. 1 Timothy 6 and 18. That they do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you could jump to verse 11.
Yeah, 1 Timothy chapter 6 and 11. But thou, O man of God, flee these things and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness.
All right. And you could jump down to back to verse 17.
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and 17, it says, charge them that are rich in this world.
Right. And that's heavy because a lot of men think that's in the truth. They think that just pertains to like Esau, but that pertains to men that's of stature in the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's talking about. You know, that's why it says in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, or in the 2nd chapter, the Lord, he knows our poverty, but we are rich. You know what I'm saying? So, and everybody in this truth, we got these riches, but everybody in this truth ain't the elect. Some of them niggards. That's why it says in what's that, Sirach 14, riches are not comely for a niggard. Right? And when you go to what's that, James, I think that's James in the 1st chapter. Let me get it real quick. James, it says what? James, pretty much what the scripture will tell you. I think that's the 4th chapter. No, that's it. Yeah, this is James 2. And let's start at 1. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Yahweh Shah, Hamashiach, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons. For if we know that exists in the truth, right? It says, for if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel. See, let's read it again. For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment. And that represents a man in his truth with status and a man in his truth with low status. Right? It says, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, meaning the nice, the rich. When you read that in the NLT, it says, verse 3, if you give special attention and a good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor, you can stand over there or else sit on the floor. Well, right. So going back to the KJV, this in the NL, this verse 3, same verse, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. So pretty much, this is like what goes on in the truth. You got men that see, men like to use that just for like Esau or like rich jakes in the world, but that's talking about y'all too. That's talking about men too. They say when a rich man speak, every man extol what he say to the clouds. You know what I'm saying? So that's men that pretty much got a lot in this truth, whether it be rank, understanding, and etc. And it's of the Lord. But it's the issue that this is talking about is how you deal when it comes to men that have that status versus other men that's also in this truth that don't. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's talking about. So you got brothers that's been in 30 years, blah, 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 40 years, goddamn, not even pointing out the elder apostles, but that's just, you know, where my mind went. But anyway, as far as numbers. But you have like brothers that's been in, you know, like head brothers and stuff like that. Everybody listen to what they say, but don't listen to what, you know, a lowly, what they, basically a man that's deemed poor. You know? Let's think about it. What makes you rich? What everybody value? So if this man don't got what everybody value, he don't got the name, he don't got the recognition of, you know, that men, even women, mankind, brothers and sisters in his truth, like he don't got shit. He poor. You know? Period. So a rich man to be like Nate, leaders of, you know, certain camps, and then a poor man to be like lower brothers that don't have those things that people value in this truth. All right, and that's what make them rich. So that's just to address that. But how do we get there? Was you reading, bro?
Yeah, First Timothy. Yep.
All right, you can read it one time.
Yeah, 1 Timothy 6:17, it says, charge them that are rich in this world.
So there you go. Charge them that are rich in this world. Because think about it. Was we sent out to, who was we sent to? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. So you can't keep using these scriptures for Esau. It's not Israel the world. Go ahead.
Yep. It says that
it's manifold, but remember, it's family first. You know what I'm saying? Period. He said, that's why he said, go rather. Go ahead.
Yep, kind. It says that they be not high-minded.
See?
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It says
get on their ass, man. When the same way you get on anybody else's due to a certain thing that's being displayed. But see, that goes into the lesson. Will you be willing to communicate? You know, the scriptures tell you, be not, if we can get that in the pocket, be not ashamed to inform the elder or something like that. Because men always pulling, rebuke not an elder. That's talking about, because rebuke is different ways. First of all, it's different ways to rebuke. Reproof and rebuke basically the same thing. So rebuke is dealing with, which is pretty much saying somebody wrong or something's not approved of, right? And you showing that. So those two words are used because that disapproval is displayed in two different ways. So you don't rebuke an elder, meaning you don't but you treat them as a father. It's just meaning it's just how you go about telling them or correcting them. You know, and a lot of times, you know, Spirit been hitting me with this. Rebuke is just teach. You can rebuke and just teaching correctly. You gotta be, nigga, you going off, nigga. No, that old ass nigga. These niggas is nah. You know, that's not the only way to do it, man. All right, you don't supposed to do that to an elder. You know, no matter what they may be showing, it don't matter. David never did that to Saul. You know, but you got it.
Yep. The Sirach 42:8.
Mm-hmm.
It says, be not ashamed to inform the unwise and foolish, and the extreme aged that contendeth with those that are young.
See? So, but that would be an elder. All right. And we know that the Lord, he deals with the young man. All right. When David, he got to the point where he was so old, the Lord moved him out the way. Because he ain't got it no more. You know? He can't deal with that young woman no more. You know, that's what they, like spiritually, like the woman they brought him in to see if he still had heat. The young woman they brought into him to see if he still had heat. He couldn't even respond to her. That's like representing wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So that was passed on to his son. He couldn't deal with the woman no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's a spiritual connotation to that too. But what if that's a woman? What woman would that represent? Wisdom, Sophia, and then that show you what he wasn't able to pretty much distribute or he wasn't able to rule anymore, man. He was done. He had hit a certain age, and it was passed over to the young man, which was who? His son Solomon, who took over right there because he prayed for wisdom. You know, so a man can't. And I was just speaking on that. Man can't hand you wisdom. It's an inheritance, but it got to be written. It got to be in the will for the son or whoever to get it from one that may have had it. To get whatever it is from one that may have had it. You know, if you follow. But anyway, that was it, bro.
This is more. It says, "Thus shalt thou be truly learned and approved of all men living."
Yeah, so let's read that one more time.
It's Sirach 42:8.
Mm-hmm.
Be not ashamed to inform the unwise and foolish.
Yeah, so it don't matter who they are. You don't have respect of persons. That's what that chapter that the brother Mahar reading is about. Having the faith of God with respect of persons. It don't matter if somebody got all the status and if they going. David was told by Nathan, look, this was about to happen to you. And now it's the king. You know what I'm saying? It's just how you do things. But you gotta see, you got men that's not willing to do these type of things because which could be for one or two reasons. One, they not of the elect, hence why they're not willing to communicate. Because when you communicate, a lot of times it's dealing with addressing elephants in the room. Other reason why they probably already are of the elect, but they still chipping off these things. Because these things you don't just walk into these things overnight, but some are quicker to them than others. Some is just programmed to just be like that immediately. And then they even still got to grow and develop it. So that's why the scriptures, and that's proven because that's why the scriptures say it's talking to people that's of the elect. Mortify your members. Renew day by day. So you just don't write people off because they're not doing what they are to do immediately. You know what I'm saying? You keep working on them, you're going to get frustrated, but that's basically it. Because there's one or two reasons why a mug ain't doing what's supposed to be done. They either not of that number or they are and they just got to get to it. You know? But you got it.
And the extreme age that contendeth with those that are young.
Yeah. So you got like, you know, when men get older, they forget the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't even, they always tell you like, I used to be a human concordance. You know, they can't, what's the word again? They say, they can't contend with those that are young anymore, man. You know, and men gotta accept that. You know, and you gotta accept that being young. But it's just all in how you do it. So if an elder going off, elder brother, they gotta get told. Be not ashamed to inform them. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to communicate. Now why? One, because you're probably not the elect, but it's probably because you haven't what the brother reading right here, respect of persons. Because they rich. That was King David, man. And Nathan told him, man. That was King David. It wasn't none King David couldn't have, man. He was completely rich in every regard. Matter of fact, we can grab that too. But you can finish, bro.
Thus shalt thou be truly learned and approved of all men living.
Yeah, man. And you most importantly, you're gonna be proved of Yahweh Shah. You're gonna be approved of all men living, meaning all men that truly know this truth. All men that have the spirit of Yahweh Shah within their nostrils, within them, man. That's the people that's truly living. If a man he can spit it out, but he can't act it out, he not really living. You know, that's like a dead body. He ain't acting nothing out. He's not animated, deceiving himself. He looked like he alive, but you can say he alive. He's basically an illusion. He's deceived his own self. Be hearers of the word, be doers of the words, and not hearers only. Deceiving your own self. You know. But anyway, go ahead, Mahar. We can finish. Then we can get that one. Let me grab that too.
Yeah, Con.
Let me grab that too.
I believe it's in 2 Samuel chapter 12, but I got the 1 Timothy 6:17. Charge them that are rich in this world.
All right, so charge them. Go ahead.
It says that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living power.
Yeah, exactly. So don't, because men would think, because they done hit that point and acquire everything it is that everybody value, like basically all they got to do is just keep bringing out scriptures, or just, you know what I'm saying, like they start trusting in that, you know, and they end up you know, letting other key components slip, you know, that even put them in that position, man. So you gotta always remind us, you know, all the kings went off. Think about it, all our kings went off, every last one of them. You know, but that don't mean they were wicked. I'm just saying they went off. You know, and if I'm wrong, somebody can mistake me, but I believe every last king went off on something, because it's either, I think, who was it? Was it Jehoshaphat? I think he didn't even know he was going off, but he was going off because they found the book. It was missing for like 400 years and whatnot. He had to rebuild everything, you know? So, because obviously you had righteous kings and wicked kings, but everybody went off. But you got it.
Yep. And it says, I'm going to start from the top again. It says, charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living power, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy.
Yep. Keep going.
It says that they do good, that they be rich in good works.
What verse you in?
Verse 18.
Go ahead.
It says, ready to distribute, willing to communicate.
There you go. Willing to communicate. See? Men get so high up, they get the riches, and they stop thinking they got to talk to people. I ain't got to explain myself to you. You know? I ain't got to explain myself to you. That's it. But what if that man never talked to you? Just because it was a video up, I ain't got to talk to you. We don't want to take on that mindset. And that mindset is very much seen, and it's very much seen in someone that got everything. You be like, damn, he think he can't even talk to nobody no more. Versus somebody that's lower, you know, that's automatically be put on somebody high versus somebody that's lower. Because you would just credit the person that's lower, like, oh, they probably just dealing with something. Probably just know. And then the person that's the opposite, you be like, yeah, they just. That's why Solomon said, give me neither riches, neither poverty. You know what I'm saying? Lest I be full and deny thee, or lest I be hungry and still. You know, but anyway, you got it. So you men that's constantly throwing these years around, y'all got to stop, man. Y'all don't even want to communicate. Y'all don't want to communicate with none of the youth. You know what I'm saying? You just want to get on live and really talk shit. A lot of men just sitting around talking shit. You should be setting something up. We should all be doing this, setting something up to actually act out what the Lord said we are to act out. But that ain't going to happen if you're not willing to communicate. You know? But guess what? That's probably a non-elect trait. So don't let your riches fool you, trusting in uncertain riches. You got the status, you got the name, you the leader, you approved the elder apostles, but yet it's just like Saul. Saul was trusting in uncertain riches, and he lost everything off of that. He's like, man, I got the riches though. Y'all gonna love this. I've obtained it. Like he basically in his head thought he obtained what it is to have. And he, in that very thought, he dropped what it is to keep, which is what? The wisdom. He was like, keep therefore this wisdom for his, keep therefore, let me grab that real quick. This is Deuteronomy 4:6. Keep therefore, I'm gonna start at 5. Deuteronomy 4:5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord Yahweh my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them. Keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. And a lot of men is not keeping these statutes and judgments. They handling matters according to their own heart, while trusting in the uncertain riches that they have obtained, which is the statuses, the ranks, you got the elder apostles on your common board or whoever, you know what I'm saying? You got the other men from the other camp, they top men that can't come up against you. No one's listening to the other men that's under you, that's actually right, and that's actually trying to like warn you, and that's what happened. But you missed that because you trust in all those uncertain riches, just like Saul. So the minute he did that, Saul is an example unto you. The minute he did that, he didn't keep therefore what it is he is to keep, which is the statutes and commandments of Yahweh Shem Shah, righteous dealing, righteous judgment, which consists of being willing to communicate, right? He dropped that and obtained the riches, all of the choice of this, the choice of that. What man esteemed, what the Lord had already said, that was esteemed in the eyes of men is abomination in the sight of God, roughly paraphrasing. And the minute that he went on to pretty much play that out, he lost the kingdom. He lost everything. That's why the Lord said, Yahushua said, a man gonna have taken from that. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. What's that? Luke 8. What he seemed to have. And that's what a lot of men finna lose the kingdom. They finna lose these ranks and all this other stuff they got. And they gonna lose the riches they hold. Luke 8:18.
Luke 8:18. Take heed therefore how ye hear.
Mm-hmm. Started 17.
It's Luke 8:17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest.
All these things that's going on is manifested amongst Israel. These very situations and examples we given are actual scenarios that's taking place right now that men displaying, in whatever way, whether you the one on the bad end or the good end of it. But go ahead.
Neither anything hid,
or just an observer. You're just a spectator. You're like, dang, this is happening. Go ahead.
Neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Take heed therefore how ye hear.
Tell them out. You got it.
For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken, even that which he seemeth to have.
And that's what's about to happen. So you got it, Mar. Let's finish up what you had.
Yeah, kind of. 1 Timothy 6:19. I'm gonna start at 18 again. It says that they do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate.
You charge them that are rich, and make these men understand they got to be willing to communicate. They not even responding on none of the matters that men bring it up. Men not doing this. You can go to them, they still ain't responding, or they come back, and just talk crap and be like, these guys. Say who you talking about, man? Oh, they poor, that's why. See? So how you know it's talking about Jake? You got it.
Yep. Verse 19 says, laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come.
Real riches. You dealt like a righteous king. All right. Go ahead.
Yep. It says that they may lay hold unto eternal life.
Right. And that you will actually stay alive. You trying to keep your camp alive, your narrative alive. You know what I'm saying? Your undisputed record when it comes to men who's ever tried to come against you, and your understanding that's been approved by all alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. The Lord is not moving with that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna keep that. You're gonna keep all that alive by being willing to communicate. That's one for starters. According to this lesson. But go ahead.
It says, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust."
So that's it on that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get this in 2 Samuel. This is 2 Samuel 2 and 1. 12 and 1. Salaki. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen real quick. So this could be seen. Hold on, what just happened? Okay, I'll do this. Y'all can see this, right? All right. So yeah, I'm gonna pull it up full screen. Anyway, they say right here, Nathan rebukes David. David was the king. It says in the Lord, verse 1, and the Lord Yahweh sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had brought and nourished up. And it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat. So this is dealing with pretty much when he took Bathsheba. You know what I'm saying? And pretty much the rich man represented David, and the poor man represented Uriah, I believe his name was. And yeah, let me just read on. Matter of fact, somebody or one of you brothers can read it. I catch it better.
Yeah, you got it, brother.
Yep. You want me to start at 3?
Yep.
Is 2 Samuel 12 and 3. Mm-hmm. Says, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had brought and nourished up.
Right. And who do you think that represents? Bathsheba. Go ahead.
And it grew up together with him,
mm-hmm.
and with his children.
Mm-hmm.
It did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup,
mm-hmm.
and lay in his bosom,
mm-hmm.
and was unto him as a daughter.
Mm-hmm. Which is because pretty much a father passes his daughter over that he took care of over to another man, which becomes a husband. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying it like that, because you pretty much take care of your wife like she your daughter, but you got it. Mm-hmm.
There came a traveler unto the rich man,
mm-hmm.
and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring men.
Let me say this: you're taking care of a daughter, but I don't want to cause confusion, right? But you got it. Mm-hmm.
To dress for a wayfaring man that mm-hmm. was come unto him,
mm-hmm.
but took the poor man's lamb
mm-hmm.
and dressed it for the man that was come to him.
Right. You got it.
And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man.
See? So showing you David, he was giving him a situation so he could see, basically, so he could judge the matter for what it was. So if you read verse 4 again.
This is 2 Samuel 12:4.
Uh-huh.
And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him.
Go ahead.
And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as Yahweh liveth, the man that had done this thing shall surely die.
And that man was him. You got it.
And he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing.
Yeah. And pretty much that's why that happened to that's why all that stuff happened to David with his son. Even though we ain't going to a breakdown on all this, but with his concubines and all of that, because of what he did. But you got it.
And because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul.
Right.
And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah.
Right.
And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things.
So pretty much I explained that wrong. I'll probably do a lesson, readdress that. But as far as exactly who's who, like I said, this is dealing with when David did what he did to Uriah to get Bathsheba. You know, after he's king, he got it all. The Lord put him in position, and he, you know, it wasn't nothing David couldn't have, but he went and did this wickedness, and that's pretty much what the, you know, the like the parable is basically going into, you know. So I might come back and re-speak on that because I ain't worded everything correctly, but you got it.
Verse 9. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of Yahweh to do evil in his sight? Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon.
Yep. So pretty much, you know, it went too off, you know what I'm saying? Because this is off the top of the head. But the point is, Nathan, he had to go rebuke the king, a rich man, you know? And he was willing to do it. He said, you gonna die because you did this. But see, look how he did it. And this so wise right here. There's so much wisdom the Lord laying out before us. Look how he presented the rebuke that Nathan had to give to King David, you know, to him. Look how the Lord, look how Nathan, if you will, he presented it to David. He gave him a story so he can see it for himself instead of just coming because he's the king and being like, you gonna die, because that would have been off. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's heavy. So this will be an example of how, like, it's certain, when it comes to certain men, right? It's not a respect of person things. It's just you got to do in certain scenarios, you got to do things in certain ways. You got to do things decently in order. When you actually address that decently in order, I believe in when you look up the word, I think in order or decently, one of those, it pretty much tells you deal with somebody according to who they are. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you are to move. All right. And but first and foremost, you might get a little frantic, you know. But if you said to have to do something, handle something a certain way, and tell somebody something, you gotta what? And it might consist of talking. You gotta be willing to communicate. See that? And he was willing to communicate because he laid a whole story out for him to where he'll get him to hear him, where it wouldn't be any issue. So it's just beautiful how the Lord deals, and how he not a hypocrite, man. You know what I'm saying? It's very powerful. You know, I really want to correct exactly, what I said. I don't think I said anything off. Two Ben, one city, one rich, the other poor. That's dope too. The rich man see the fly right. So yeah, that was basically it, because I didn't say nothing else besides that. So yeah, that's true. Rich man, the poor man had none. Yup. And there was a traveler, and there came a traveler unto the rich man. He spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to this part right here, and to dress the way for the wayfaring man that was come unto him. Let me grab that word wayfaring real quick. Because if I could just fix it right here, I'm not even gonna come back. Let me see. Yeah. So I'll bear with me real quick. It says, let's read that real quick. The other one you had, that other one.
1 Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Come. This is 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 15. But sanctify the Lord Yahweh Ba'al Yahweh in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. Read that one more time.
1 Peter 3 and 15. But sanctify Yahweh Ba'al Yahweh in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to this. But anyway, so yeah, one more time, Salaki, brother, Salak.
Wow. It's 1 Peter 3 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
But sanctify the Lord Yahweh Ba'al in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear.
Yeah, man. So why you believe this, brother? That's how you want to move. Like, you got to be willing to communicate. Like, how can you go out on the highways and byways if you're not willing to communicate? How can you? Let's get this probably last one, unless you brothers have some. Matthew 18. How can you perform this? How can you resolve issues with brothers? How? If you're not willing to communicate, how can you reason with the Lord if you're not willing to communicate? How can you repent if you're not willing to communicate? How can you keep your home life, if you will, with your family, your women with your husband, your spouse, like going, if you're not willing to communicate? How? You can't, man. And that's gonna lead to so much. That leads to so much destruction. The elect ain't getting destroyed. The only bad thing they can meet, which is an honor, is martyrhood. They not getting destroyed because they're willing to communicate. You got it.
Yeah, it's Matthew 18 and 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
See, you got to be. How can you, if you're not willing to communicate, how can you do this? Even if a brother wrong, but you're not willing to communicate, he did something wrong against you. How can you perform this? You can't, because you're not willing to communicate. And men are just sit and hold things and end up having wickedness overtake them because they're not expressing these things they see. It's a lot of things that men don't agree with that's in these groups, and they just sitting on it. And that's why a lot of men are just, they start to look like they bugging out, as men like to say. Nah. It was probably a lack of not willing to communicate, going on. Whether it's from that brother or those that were supposed to be dealing with that brother and supposed to be tending to that brother. Real quick, if a brother can get that in Proverbs, be careful to know the state of that flock. You know. Of course, this thing don't play. This is Proverbs 20, 27 and 23. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks and look well to thy herds. Exactly. You know, so you got men that's supposed to be being taken care of. You know, I was just hearing that, you know, an elder brother say this, and that's true. But in order for that to even happen, they got to be what? More than they got to be willing to communicate, because communication might be what's needed. Which, if we can get this real quick before we continue on with what the one was last reading. Hebrews 13 and 17. You can whoever want to get it, you can get it, Mahar.
Yeah, Khan.
Start at verse 15, Baba Shah.
Yeah, Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 15. It says, by him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai continually. That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name.
See, so you got to be willing to communicate. How can you, you know, you don't want to say nothing. How can you give, just read on, because that's another point. You got it.
Yeah, verse 16, it says, but to do good and communicate, forget not.
See?
For with such sacrifices, the Heavenly Father is well pleased.
Because talking, communicating is deemed a sacrifice. When you read, what's that, Hosea, the 14th chapter, it's talking about how we offer the what? The calf of our lips. So, you know, it's more than just hitting the highways and bringing out scriptures. You got to be willing to communicate. This is Hosea 4 and 1, 14 and 1. O Israel, return unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. Take with you words and turn to the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Say unto him, take away all iniquity and receive us graciously, so we will render the calves of our lips. So, you know, that's a sacrifice. You gotta, because when you sacrifice, you gotta give up something. So a lot of times, in order to fix a situation, you gotta be willing to sacrifice your pride, your time, to have that communication for the better. You know, whether it's ultimately all for the Lord, because the scriptures say whether we live unto the Lord, whether we die unto the Lord. But if it's directly praying to the Lord or just fixing something between, you know, you and a brother, you know what I'm saying? You and that's really it, man. Someone that's of the household of faith, someone that's in the world that may have misunderstood you. You know, you like I said, your home life, you know. You that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You got to be willing to what? Give up something, which is what makes it a sacrifice. All right. But you got it, bro.
Yeah, Khan. Hebrews chapter 13 and 17, it says, obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls, as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So pretty much you gotta so in situations like I said with these brothers that's redeeming, like they bugging out, we in the sifting and all that, which is true. The Lord is gonna sift the house of Israel. He getting his elect, you know. He ultimately getting his elect out of these groups, you know, because all these groups going down. You know, brothers think it's the other way around. No. Your group not the truth either. Stop saying that. Your group, quit making brothers think when they leave your group, they're out of the truth. That's blood on your hands if that brother going to think that. That don't even make sense. Because that brother that was within your group wasn't always around your group 24/7. So how would your group be but he would still be in the truth? So how would your group be the truth? Come on, man. That your group comes with the territory of this truth, because it's groups within the truth. You know, that don't mean they're in churches. That mean ain't the house of David, but that just what come with the territory. So y'all gotta quit saying that too. Like I said, men that's having these things happen to them is probably because they was lacking to communicate, and they end up hold something in that they didn't agree with, and it just came out, or they was trying to communicate, and one that was up wasn't willing to, and it ended up happening like that. And it, you just, because men weren't being diligent to know the state of their flock, But even for those that's, because this don't just give pass to those that's under, y'all got to be brothers under, the men that the Lord God and Moses see right now. You got to be, you got to be voicing what ain't right, man. Don't just not say nothing, and then you just, if you think you be justified, but you won't, you gotta say something. And then when you're willing to say something, which should be according to the scriptures, they should be willing to say something. But whoever ain't, that's not an elect, man. And they not offering up sacrifice. But let's go ahead with what you got, brother. We go ahead and close out.
Come. Back to 1 Peter 3:15. It says, but sanctify the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
No, I'm talking about using Matthew.
Oh, Salakia, yeah.
There you go, good.
It's Matthew chapter 18 and verse 16. It says, but if he will not hear thee,
start at the top, Bob Shop.
Matthew 18 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
Gotta do it, man. Especially if you can. Come on now. Different across the internet and all that. But then you have brothers try that. You go to brother comment board, you know what I'm saying? The video brothers ain't listening to. They're trying to reach out. And hopefully he reads back. He's supposed to. But some men don't think they got to, man. The scripture say be willing to hear every godly discourse.
Yeah, kind of hold, man.
Go ahead.
It is on Sirach chapter 6 and verse. What is that? Salakia. Yeah, 6 and 35. It says, "Be willing to hear every godly discourse, and let not the parables of understanding escape thee."
Yep. So there you go. And that's what's going to happen with two men that's going over the scriptures. Like you're gonna get the understanding of the parables, get the things right. A lot of men think they right and they wrong, so you're gonna stay wrong. If somebody try to come to you that's right and correct you, you're gonna stay wrong. And don't think you could just you could switch bandwagons and start saying what's right, but never having got back to the brother. That the Lord not working with that. That's proud. But go ahead, Mark.
Yep. It's back to Matthew 18 and 15. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
And that's and I'm gonna say that's what's going on with the new covenant thing, and even men talking about King David. So y'all got to be willing to hear brothers out and start writing them off, because that's non-elect. Why you just quick to call them? You don't even know why they saying you can't even. Men not even reasoning. But see, that's why the Lord said He's gonna deliver us from unreasonable men for all men, because all men don't have faith. If it ain't a certain brother of status, they not talking to you. If he got kicked out, I ain't talking to him. Like, huh? Come on, man. Then Paul get into it with what's his name? I forget. And he thought it was Silas. He thought it wasn't good to take. Paul took with him Silas.
Right.
It was in Acts. I don't want to misquote that. But Paul's like, man, I ain't dealing with him. But that man was still a man that Paul went on and dealt with, because he was still of the Lord.
Barnabas.
And he went with he went not with him to do the work. Was it 15? Yeah, kind of. Paul thought not, Acts 15 and 18, Paul thought not good to take with him Slakia. Barnabas determined to take with him John, who served Nate. So yeah, John and John, Paul wasn't messing with John, you know, and they divided apart. They are parted from sunder, but then they end up reconciling. Well, how do you think that happened? Through communication. You got it, bro.
Matthew 18 and 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
Yeah, the Lord gonna set everything in order when he comes back. You know, everything. You know. Go ahead.
And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church.
The men ain't moving how they supposed to. All right. How is God gonna set everything, you know, in order when he come back? You got it.
But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican.
So men that's not willing to hear, hence communicate, they deemed heathens. You know, that's how the Lord gonna look at them, because that's not elect. That's not of the chosen people of the earth. Because the nation of Israel are the elect, but you got the elect of the chosen people. All right. And okay, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close out. Lord will leave it edified, call Allah. You have anything else?
Yeah, I have something real quick.
Go ahead.
So James 1 and 19, it says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. You know, so simply we need to be willing to hear, you know. You got to be willing to hear so communication can happen. You know, you got to be slow to speak, and you got to be willing to hear somebody else out, you know, and slow down and just, you know, writing brothers off, you know, writing, you know, those who believe off and actually hear these discourses, because that's the only way we're going to, you know, obtain and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, though.
Yep. So yeah,
I got something too.
right.
There's Ephesians 4 and 31 in the CEV. It says, "Stop being bitter and angry and mad at others. Don't yell at one another or curse each other, or even be rude."
And that happens. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta be able to correct that, you know, and watch how you do that. You know, it's gonna be cursing and some yelling, you know, especially among men, maybe certain men, because you got certain men fiery, but you got it.
Yeah. It says, "Instead be kind and merciful and forgive others, just as Yahweh forgave you because of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach."
You got it.
So there's a way to communicate to brothers, right? There's a way to conduct yourselves amongst one another, and then there's a way to be reconciled. The only way to be reconciled with one another, you know, make amends, forgive one another, is to communicate, right? Just like the elder brother gave the analogy of, you know, John and Paul, the Apostle Paul. That's what they needed to do, and that's what brothers got to do better at moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and close out. Call on Allah, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Kakadas. Till next time, Shalom.